It's staggering to think that the United States funnels nearly $31 billion every year into subsidies for the fossil fuel industry, according to a recent comprehensive analysis by Oil Change International, an environmental advocacy group. But here's where it gets controversial. This amount has actually more than doubled since 2017, and experts believe the true figure could be much higher. This is because many government supports are difficult to quantify due to opaque financial data and limited transparency from official sources. These massive financial handouts create a significant obstacle to the urgent goal of decarbonizing our economy, an effort widely recognized by scientists and climate experts as crucial to preventing the most catastrophic impacts of climate change. Colin Rees, the U.S. program manager at Oil Change International and lead author of the analysis, points out these subsidies enable fossil fuel companies to initiate new production projects that would otherwise be unprofitable. Even more concerning is that a large portion of this money ends up enriching shareholders, investors, and top executives within these corporations. To arrive at the $31 billion figure, Oil Change International examined various forms of financial support from the U.S. government and government-funded entities. This includes tax breaks, reduced fees for leasing land and resources, direct government appropriations, and other monetary incentives, all defined in alignment with the World Trade Organization's standards for fossil fuel subsidies. The results are staggering. Investors in the fossil fuel sector are receiving returns on investment as high as 30,000%, a level that raises critical questions about fairness and long-term sustainability. When asked for comment, The Guardian reached out to the American Petroleum Institute, the primary lobbying organization for the U.S. fossil fuel industry. Among the most lucrative subsidies identified by the report is a federal tax provision that lets companies offset taxes and royalties they pay to foreign governments on earnings abroad against their U.S. tax obligations, effectively preventing these corporations from being taxed twice on the same income. Another major financial support is a tax credit for carbon capture technologies. While often marketed as a progressive climate solution, in reality, this tax credit largely facilitates enhanced oil recovery, a practice that pumps carbon dioxide into oil fields to extract otherwise unreachable reserves, prolonging fossil fuel production instead of reducing emissions. The pressure to reform has been mounting internationally. Data from the Swiss-based Global Subsidies Initiative shows that between 2015 and 2020, at least 53 countries adjusted their fossil fuel subsidies to reduce their support. Even President Joe Biden, upon taking office in 2021, vowed to start eliminating such subsidies, emphasizing that unlike previous administrations, his government should stop handing out taxpayer dollars to big oil companies. I don't think the federal government should give handouts to big oil, Biden declared shortly after his inauguration. Yet despite these promises, the U.S. appears to be heading in the opposite direction. The recent tax and spend bill championed by former President Trump and signed into law in July is projected to inject an additional $4 billion annually into the fossil fuel industry over the coming decade. The legislation expands tax credits for carbon capture and slashes already below-market royalty rates on coal, oil, and gas extraction from public lands, measures that could become even more lucrative for fossil fuel companies as time goes on. Additionally, the bill includes a controversial provision, championed by oil industry lobbyists, that allows these companies to sidestep the corporate minimum tax that Biden's administration implemented. Imagine the possibilities if these subsidies were redirected towards social programs instead. The report highlights that the same amount, $31 billion a year, could support 3 million families annually with food assistance through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, fund solar panel installations for 54 million households within 10 years, or enable 3 million children to attend Head Start early education programs. While government subsidies for fossil fuels might seem like a complex maze of tax codes and policy jargon, their consequences for America's future and its relationship with polluting energy companies are enormous, Rees explains. Though these subsidies are embedded in technical legislative language, it's crucial to recognize that they represent political decisions. They are statements about what our country chooses to prioritize and support. But here's the part most people miss. Are these subsidies truly supporting a stable economic future for the U.S., or are they perpetuating a cycle that benefits a few at the expense of the planet and future generations? Should taxpayers demand greater transparency and accountability for where their money goes? And perhaps most provocatively, is it time to challenge the fundamental political choices that allow such subsidies to persist? We'd love to hear what you think. Does fossil fuel subsidy reform deserve more urgent attention? Or do you see benefits in maintaining the status quo? Share your thoughts.